Have you ever wondered what enables the Jewish community to maintain lasting wealth across centuries? The secret isn't just earning more, but mastering the art of avoiding 7 common financial mistakes. From excessive borrowing and impulse spending to neglecting diversification and uninformed investing. In this video, I'll unveil each of these pitfalls and show you how to say no at just the right time to protect your financial future. Keep watching to learn the time-tested wealth-building strategies of the Jewish tradition.
Financial Trap 1. Lifestyle Inflation. I've witnessed it countless times, even fallen into it without realizing. When my salary increased, I felt I deserved a better car. When my job progressed, I thought it was time to move into a fancier apartment, buy designer clothes, dine at fancy restaurants. I didn't think I was splurging, I was just upgrading my life to match my income. But then I realized I was running in place. Did you know that over 50% of households in the U.S. earning over $100,000 annually still live paycheck to paycheck? Why is it that income increases, yet wealth doesn't budge? Simply because when you spend in direct proportion to your income, you're not getting richer, you're just living more expensively. Warren Buffett, the symbol of sustainable wealth, has lived in the same $31,500 house since 1958, despite having billions of dollars. A man who could buy any mansion he wanted still chooses simplicity. Not because he's cheap, but because he understands one thing: wealth is not for showing off, but for growing. That story made me think of a profound truth in the financial philosophy of the Jewish people. They have a saying, "Who is rich? The one who is content with what they have." It sounds like a moral saying, but it's actually a financial strategy that has helped them maintain wealth across generations. Because when you're satisfied with what you have, you don't need to race in consumerism, and that's when you start truly accumulating. A friend of mine, a businessman in California with a monthly income of $12,000, shared with me his simple yet highly effective strategy: setting a lifestyle ceiling. He lives as if he only earns $8,000 a month, while the remaining $4,000 goes into investments. Not every month is easy, but this discipline has helped him build a solid investment portfolio in just a few years. I've learned that becoming wealthy isn't about spending more when you make more, but about spending less than what you could, so the rest can work for you.
Financial Trap 2. Having only one income source. After realizing that avoiding mistakes can sometimes be more important than doing things right, I began to be more cautious about the financial traps lurking in our modern lives. And the first one, the most common one, is lifestyle inflation. It's not loud, it's not in your face, but it quietly erodes our financial freedom like an acid rain, little by little, eating away at our financial security. I've fallen into this trap without even realizing it. Salary increase? I rewarded myself with a new car. Career advancement? I thought I deserved a bigger apartment with a better view. I wasn't spending recklessly, I was just living up to my earnings. But one day, I looked back and realized I was still standing still. My bank account barely budged, even though my salary had doubled. I'm not alone in this. Statistics show that over half of households in the U.S. earning over $100,000 a year still live paycheck to paycheck, just like when they first started working. They don't spend excessively, they just upgrade their life in proportion to their income growth, and then there's nothing left to save. That's why I'm so impressed with Warren Buffett, the man with tens of billions, yet still living in a modest $31,500 house he bought back in 1958. It's not because he's cheap to the extreme, but because he fully understands the philosophy. Wealth is not for showing off, but for making more wealth. Looking back, I see that this mindset reflects a core value in Jewish financial philosophy. They have a saying, "Who is rich? The one who knows enough and is satisfied with what they have." It may sound like a moral statement, but it's actually a survival strategy that has allowed them to build wealth across generations. When you're not pressured to spend to keep up with the Joneses, you begin to accumulate. and accumulation is the foundation of investing. I still clearly remember the story of a friend of mine, a small business owner in San Diego. Despite earning over $12,000 a month, he kept his lifestyle at $8,000 a month. What was left? He invested it in index funds and real estate. "I don't need to live like a millionaire," he said. "I need my assets to work for me so I can live freely later." And indeed, just a few years later, he had built up an investment portfolio large enough to retire early if he chose to. From these experiences, I realized something. Wealth doesn't come from spending more, but from controlling the desire to spend when we have the means. Every dollar you don't spend today could be an income-generating asset tomorrow.
Financial Trap 3. High-interest debt. After understanding that controlling my lifestyle was just as important as increasing my income, I began to recognize another trap, quiet but persistent, as dangerous as a parasite in your wallet: high-interest debt. I used to think I was managing my finances fairly well until I looked back at my credit card statements. Every month, I paid a portion, just the minimum, thinking that was enough. But strangely, the balance hardly went down, even though I wasn't spending more. It turned out I was being pickpocketed without realizing it. Every month, the bank silently applied interest, and the cost of my sufficient payment was hundreds, even thousands of dollars each year. And I wasn't alone. Many people around me, from colleagues to those who seemed stable, were also carrying interest burdens of 20 to 25% per year. We were being drained bit by bit, as if paying money for nothing at all. I remember a time when a friend of mine, a financial advisor of Jewish descent, said that in Jewish financial ethics, lending to someone in need at high interest rates is immoral, because when someone is at their lowest and you find a way to profit from them, that's not business, it's exploitation. That statement made me think twice. If I'm paying 24% interest on a $10,000 debt, that means every year I'm burning $2,400 just to stay in the same place. In 5 years, I lose $12,000, while if I invested in the S&P 500, I could easily double that amount. One side is slowly disappearing, the other side is growing, and I had picked the wrong side. I started by prioritizing paying off the highest interest debt first, even before investing. Then I researched and switched to credit cards with 0% temporary interest rates, like Chase Slate Edge or Citi Diamond Preferred, giving me time to manage without being crushed by interest. Another strategy I used was consolidating debts and taking out a loan from a credit union, where the interest rates were typically lower than those of commercial banks. This helped me reduce overall financial pressure while still meeting my debt obligations. If you're in the same situation, don't be ashamed. The important thing isn't where you went wrong, but when you start fixing it. There are entrepreneurs like Dave Ramsey, who went bankrupt due to debt, but later became one of America's leading financial experts because he dared to confront and address the root of the problem. I learned that debt isn't bad, but debt that makes you feel helpless and trapped should be eliminated immediately. And you can do it, as long as you're brave enough to face it and take action starting today.
Financial Trap 4. Impulsive spending. Breaking free from the high-interest debt trap allowed me to breathe a little easier. But before I could celebrate, I realized I was still being drained, not by anyone else, but by my own emotions. The next trap I fell into had a name that seemed harmless: impulsive spending. At first, I thought it was just a few small items: a shirt bought when I was feeling down, a lavish dinner to treat myself after a long day at work, or a discounted watch I didn't need. But then I looked at my account and was shocked. The balance kept shrinking for no obvious reason. It was like bleeding money, but no one was stabbing me, just the times I swiped my card to soothe my emotions. I used to comfort myself by thinking, what's wrong with treating yourself once in a while? But the truth was, those impulsive decisions were slowly burning my future. Spending $100 a week without control didn't seem like a big deal, But over the course of a year, that amounted to more than $5,000, enough to take a vacation in Hawaii, start investing, or pay off some student loans. The Jewish community has a very thought-provoking tradition, Shabbat, where every week they dedicate one day to cease all buying and selling activities. It's not just a physical rest, but a way to practice emotional control, escaping the consumer cycle. No shopping, no giving in to momentary desires. It's a mental exercise to master money rather than letting money master you. I learned to apply this lesson to modern life with simple yet highly effective principles. First, the 24-hour rule. Anything over $50, I leave it there and think for one more day. If the next day I still feel the need, I buy it, but most of the time I don't. For items over $300, I extend the thinking time to 7 days. And the miracle is, the longer I wait, the more I realize I don't actually need it. I also focused on intentional shopping, meaning before going to a store or opening a shopping app, I made a clear list. What do I actually need? No letting emotions drive me. No allowing ads to trigger desires. I once read about a famous entrepreneur, Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx. She started her career with $5,000 of personal savings, and every dollar she spent had a purpose. Sarah shared, "Discipline isn't about limiting freedom, it's about protecting what truly matters." Since I gained control over my emotional spending habits, I felt mentally lighter, my account steadier, and most importantly, I no longer have to work hard just to patch the holes I created myself.
Financial Trap 5. Financial Loneliness. No community to support you. After learning how to control my emotional spending habits, I thought I had taken a big step on the path to financial freedom. But then, I bumped into something that made me reflect for a long time. No matter how hard I tried, I was still going it alone. I realized I was falling into the fifth trap, financial loneliness. I used to believe that working hard, saving properly, and investing wisely were enough, but the reality was far from the theory. Every time I had to make a big decision, buying a house, shifting investments, starting a business project, I was doing it alone. No one to offer advice, no one to challenge me, and most importantly, no one to accompany me. That isolation made it easier for me to make mistakes, and worse, I missed out on huge opportunities simply because I didn't know. The Jewish people have a profound concept called kahila, which means a community growing together. They don't go alone. In every financial or business decision, there is always support from family, friends, and even the community. Jewish children grow up in an environment where exchanging knowledge, sharing experiences, and overcoming challenges together is a given. Relationships are not merely formalities, they are intellectual and responsible bonds. I once read about Warren Buffett, an investing legend, but few know that he has a small circle of trusted people to consult with before major decisions. One of them is Charlie Munger, his partner, companion, and the one who helps Buffett see aspects that he alone could not. The truth is, there are many people in their 50s and 60s who have worked hard all their lives, never overspending, never falling into debt, yet they still feel financially fragile and alone. They have no one to plan with, no one to consult when uncertain. And so, just one crisis, a sickness, a layoff, a market crash, can easily unravel everything. I didn't want to become one of them, so I did something simple but life-changing. I began seeking out a community. I joined a mastermind group about investing, where every week there are discussions and exchanges from experienced people. I proactively connected with people who had been in the field for over 10 years, listening to their stories of mistakes and victories. And I found a financial companion, not to compare, but to learn together, adjust, and push each other forward. When I no longer stood alone, I saw everything change. The vision was broader, the faith was stronger, and the financial road no longer seemed as bleak. It became a journey with someone beside me moving forward together.
Financial Trap 6. Avoiding financial knowledge, the deadly gap. I used to think that just having a companion in a good community was enough to advance in finance.
But the deeper I went, the more I realized there was something scarier than loneliness. It was my own ignorance. I call it the deadly gap. There were times when I deliberately ignored the numbers in my account. Whenever someone mentioned investment, inflation, or retirement funds, I would pretend to be busy or change the subject. Because I once thought, I'm not an expert. Finance is for economists. I can't learn that. I convinced myself that it was too late to start. And so I procrastinated year after year until that neglect led me to a dead end. One time, I read a statistic that shook me. Most Americans don't invest not because they lack money, but because they lack knowledge. They don't understand how the market works, don't know where to begin, and their fear grows over time. The Jewish people have a special philosophy. Learning never stops. They believe that no matter your age, you can always start anew. A famous rabbi once said, "I've learned the most from my own students." That statement made me rethink all my old beliefs. I recall the story of Howard Schultz, the man who turned Starbucks into a global brand. He was born into a poor family, had no business background, and wasn't taught about finance as a child. But Schultz didn't let his ignorance hold him back. He learned everything: how to build a business model, how to strategize financially, step by step, undeterred by difficulty. And it was that proactive learning that changed his life. I knew I couldn't stand still anymore, so I began very simply. I chose a financial topic I had once avoided, and I learned it that very day. I started with the book The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel, a book that isn't overly academic but sheds light on how people make financial decisions. With each chapter I read, each idea I understood, a layer of fog was lifted. I also watched basic tutorial videos and sometimes sought advice from independent experts. I discovered something interesting. Each financial piece of knowledge I gained made one of my fears shrink. Knowledge isn't about becoming a financial genius. It's about no longer feeling small and helpless when it comes to money. Since then, I made a commitment to myself. Even if slow, I wouldn't stop. Because the only deadly gap in finance is the gap in my thinking and actions.
Financial Trap 7. Not planning your legacy. When I first started learning about finance, I thought understanding investments, saving, and spending was enough. But the deeper I got, the more I realized there's a financial trap that most people avoid: the failure to plan their legacy. I used to avoid it. The thought of writing a will, dividing assets, making a list of heirs, it wasn't easy. It made me feel like I was preparing for the end. Many people are like I was, telling themselves it's way too early to worry about that. But the truth is, death doesn't give a warning, and not preparing doesn't just freeze assets, it can drag the whole family into a spiral of disputes, something no one wants to leave behind. I once read that over 60% of Americans haven't written an official will. The consequence isn't just lost assets, but lost values, the things they wanted to pass down, that fade away over time. The Jewish people have a special philosophy about legacy called tzedakah. For them, money isn't just left behind as inheritance. It must carry meaning, fairness, and a sense of responsibility. I once read the story of Oprah Winfrey, a symbol of success against the odds. Though she never married or had biological children, Oprah proactively prepared a clear legacy plan. From scholarship funds to women's education centers to charitable organizations across the U.S. She understood that legacy isn't just about money. It's about the lasting impact of the values we leave behind. From then on, I began to change. I no longer delayed or feared thinking about the end. I learned how to write a simple, clear will, enough to ensure my assets wouldn't be lost or disputed. I created a clear list: bank accounts, passwords, authorized people, and I updated it annually. But more importantly, I took the time to write down the values I had learned, the lessons I had acquired, so that if one day I was gone, those things could still spread. Because I understood, Careers may fade, money may deplete, but values, if shared properly, will live on forever. Planning your legacy is not the end. It's how we tell the world, I lived with purpose, and when I leave, it will be with meaning. Thank you for watching until the end. Today's lesson is, true wealth isn't just income, but avoiding 7 pitfalls rooted in Jewish financial tradition: over-leveraging, impulse spending, undisciplined saving, poor diversification, neglecting negotiation, ignoring education, and sidelining community support. By learning when to say no to unsound debts, fleeting trends, or single income streams, you build a resilient foundation for lasting prosperity. If this video resonated, please like, share, and subscribe for more insights. Keep applying these principles and watch your financial future transform. See you in the next video.